Salam, welcome again to our Al-Qiblan historical traces, the Karinga concept, tradition, and values that shaped the African community, and interrogating the history of education. Last time we left at the University of Dar es Salaam and the intrigues of the then founding president of Tanzania against foreign students and local students with regard to the historical development of the university leadership, the administration, the faculty of students, and the content of the curriculum. We left at when students had published an issue and it was banned. Some brave other students came up with another version of publication, or if you like, dailies, called Cheche. Cheche in Swahili means news, hot news. And so this was reminiscent of the Maji Maji, because they also took that name to mean that it was a revolution. And so this involved both the staff and students. And they used to, like we said last time, they used to discuss. They started it as a discussion every Sunday, and it started as a boycott of the churches, of attending churches, because they did not get support from the church, and they saw the patronage of the government and the administration, who were religious, as part of colonialism. And so they decided to be meeting every 10 church and discuss issues about their future. And so unfortunately, the two universities in our focus, the Makerere and Dar es Salaam University, went under financial crisis. And unfortunately, this led to the bailing out of the university by a guy called Brenton Woods. And unfortunately, issues like the disciplinary committee had to come back, because now there is a new colonial master in the name of International Monetary Fund. And they took charge of the Makerere University, and of course also the country, Uganda, was also in a bad shape financially. And so the World Bank again took over. This is in the 1980s, and a lot of things really had to change. And so the World Bank also had to run the university, and it brought about 3 reforms. The first reform was the university benefits. How did the university benefit from it is actually commercialization of education. So the university had to earn money by giving educational content to pay staff and to run. And so this was one of the reforms. And so school fees was hiked. So it became, the university education became an education for the elites. Again, we also see that the disciplinary committee became very strong. It was almost like the administration. But why disciplinary? Why can't you let people study out of will and freely? Because, like they say, the country was independent since 1962. And so people did not enjoy those kind of independence. Those were just like I said before, just changing of guards of the monkeys of oppression. Um, and so this was the case again. The West comes back to East Africa through the financial challenges, and so the curriculum also was designed to fit the market of that time, and so a lot of reforms took place, like the geography department introduced a program called BA in tourism and hospitality and linguistics. So the people can learn Italian, people can learn Germany. And so it was no longer about geography. It was about the geography. You learned geography to be a tour guide. And so again, there was a BA in secretarial or secretariat that began in the same department. So really, it's like adding value because of the demands of the market, but you water down the main course of geography. And so this became the norm in East Africa, even in Kenya. By the time the Nairobi College of East Africa, which is the University of Nairobi, took up the same thing. Today you'll find there is a course in developmental studies, and people are doing this a lot because I think it's cheap. It doesn't demand a lot. It is uncharted space, and people are using this to get their second degrees and third degrees, which is not a bad thing at the end of the day if you are studying for titles. I mean, what is better than getting an opportunity to reach there? You go for a simple course which does not have any market value or demand, but it encompasses everything. It's almost like a BA. It's a university of nothing. It's a degree of nothing, and so many unfortunate students left university, and these are some of the issues that today we need to tackle, because if we have to get an educated population within the purview of the Western world, which runs really the globe, we need to make educational accessible to everybody. The student loans must be accessible not only once a year, at least all through the semester. At the end of the day, most governments chicken out and they give probably once a year, while a student wants to do a trisem and you can't, because the government is not supporting you. At the end of the day, when you graduate, the government does not know where to take you so that at least they can recoup their money. And so we are seeing our independent governments becoming more and more irresponsible because of the leaders that came to power. They were not bona fide leaders. These are leaders who were elected or selected by the colonial masters, and they were put there because there was a Cold War. They didn't want people to choose the forward thinking and looking leaders, genuine leaders who wanted to work for the people, regardless of which side of the Cold War they stood, whether Russian or American. So this messed really our countries, and the trend, most of our countries, like I said, are 60 years independent. But this is after a period of being invaded, for the last 800 years, being invaded by the Arabs and the Europeans. So the history began again between 1950 and 1960s, and so a lot of things really went awry. this is the reason why we're still not very competitive in the international market, because it was, in my estimation, it was by design to cripple the African population. Today, most of the African countries are really struggling to reach at least the 50% of illiteracy. But I'm really hopeful, because most of the governments that are progressive are really bringing out, coming up with policies of free basic education, and basic education not being only at the primary level or the grade level, but also in the secondary level. And by, we hope that it's going to be like everywhere else where it's developed, and people are going to be getting basic education until the first degree. And so there was a language obstacle of the language, because the Anglophone countries and the Francophone countries, they could only look towards their colonial masters, and this is again by design. We have not been able to nurture, like for example, Swahili is widely spoken. It is now taught even in Europe and America, and as a course, and people are taking it. It is widely spoken locally, from Zanzibar through to Tanzania mainland to Kenyan coastlines, all the way to Mozambique, Kenyan mainlands, and also in Uganda, Tanzania, and Burundi, and also to even in Malawi. And so this is a language that can be nurtured as a lingua franca for the East and Central Africa, and because it is a Bantu, and this is a Bantu populated region, it can also bring a lot of impetus in terms of how people understand content, other than getting foreign content for local market, which really does not synchronize, and other than bringing systems that do not resonate with our local systems at that level. Probably it is for us to become more Europeanized, but if that is progress, then well, we have something that we can look up to, or somewhere we can look towards. But I don't think becoming Black British or Black French makes you any better. Our languages have been told that inferior. We do not think in terms of models and theories. We think in terms of narratives, which is also something that can be developed. It can be acclimatized, it can be problematized, and studied, and people can come up with something. Swahili is a dynamic language. It is not an ethnic language, so it will also try and tone down ethnicity, and it is simple. The syllables are simple to read, and it's only now to understand from our mother tongue. And I think this is something that can be nurtured. It has happened in South Africa. It has happened in areas or among the Nguni and the Sothos. They have also done it with the Afrikaans. Afrikaans were Dutch who worked in kitchens, so they were inferior Europeans. And so in one of the universities, they introduced Dutch curriculum in Dutch, in Afrikaan, and it really went so well. And this is where we need to look towards, so that at least people can really get education, and people can really understand themselves, understand their identity, their purpose, and so on and so forth. Now, I said that this conversation began with our friend Hamoud Mamdani, and he was trying to deconstruct Dr. Rodney who was in charge of the Dar es Salaam University, and Dr. Ali Mazrui, who was in charge of Makerere. And so there was a rebuttal by Rodney. And Rodney suggested that the churches and the Tanzaniphilia magazines were projects of the CIA. It was not an African project. And so, like I said, it was during the Cold War. And so there is a possibility for that. Again, he said that he did not run the university. The period in question by Muhammad, he was in charge of a local university called Ruskin College, created by Ruskin graduate Joan Wicked. And Dar University was not open at that time. And so he also deconstructs the notion of Ali Mazrui and who he succeeded. And he says that he succeeded a guy called Lays. And so we see young student and an experienced foreign lecturer having this exchange, and it is a good thing. So we need this freedom, and we need to look forward. So remember, guys, love yourself, love your roots, so that you can bear good fruits. Next time, we're going to look at Timbuktu. Bless you.